I just turned on the recording, so we're being recorded. This is week 11 of Design 320. Today is Tuesday, April 6th. I'm on our to-do list here. We're going to go over part 1 of Project 3. We'll be making, clearly talking about spatial concepts and project organization. Some of you put some stuff down in your portfolio about it, and your work was pretty good, but there are some things to be able to say about it that we'll go over. But this is where we're really going to work on these two. This project is really a place where we can bring it up. So you can look over the little video about what we'll cover this week. You can look for the tutorials and lectures on the playlist. Currently, there's not much in there. We'll look at your week 11 submittal. Now, here's the main thing. We're kind of doing a little bit more, right? We're slowly getting into more and more and more on the discussion board. So, a really important part of the design process, and when we talk about design methods and design processes in the SLOs, one of them is design review, collaborative design review, checking of designs, pre-sketching concepts, things like that. So I'm going to give you guys a chance. I'd really like you to find a colleague or two or three or four that you can work with in a group and record a group review of one of your, or even two of your design concepts. What do you want to do with your commercial renovation project? Only one person needs to present, but everybody on your group needs to participate. And I've given you some instructions on how to do that. And so that's the goal. Hopefully, you have learned how to make a recording by now. And if you can't, you can get a hold of me. But you've had a chance to do it with PowerPoint. You can do it directly in Zoom too. You can just record your Zoom meeting. You can record a Google Meet using PowerPoint, something like that. And so I'd like to have a recording of it because it's really about discussion. And that's going to be your best bet. All right. And then, of course, submit your template. So let's take a look and see what your template's going to look like. Well, let's see what we're going to do today. Okay, the first thing I want to do today is go over some common notes from week 10, which was your first draft of your portfolio. And then, I don't know why I don't have the Readme open, the link there. Let me put that link on there. Oh, I just did the wrong one. I'll put the link on there to the project Readme, and we'll look at your submittal template. But first, let's take a look at some notes. So, on the whole, people showed very nice images and did good work. And if you look at the comments that I gave, I didn't take points off for not really nailing the correlation to some of these, particularly since some of them we haven't gone over strongly. Look, in a portfolio, if you say you're meeting a requirement, you have to make that really, really clear. So as an example, here's one that was pretty common. Render presentation graphics by using composition techniques for formal presentation and critique. So what you have to tell me what the composition techniques were. How did you compose your rendered graphics? Was it the layout technique with size distribution? Did you make sure that things were off center or on center? Did you make them clear and sharp? Did you use shadows? What layout techniques might you have used, and name them and show me? Or maybe part of your composition technique was a number of different view selections. I mixed 2D and 3D, orthographic with isometric with perspective. So those would be composition techniques of view selection. And you have to tell me, you can't just show me pretty pictures. Otherwise I look at it and I go, well, then it's up to me to decide. You want to make it very, very clear to me. Graphical style. What was the graphical style you used? Lines, sketchy edges, shadowed, x-rayed, soft, hard, sharp. What graphical style did you use in your composition, if that's what you were talking about? Okay. And then others are overview and detail view. Those are composition techniques where you show an overview and then you pull out a detail view. So those are composition techniques. And we didn't go over that a lot. I mentioned it, but and that's why this was a first draft, right? I didn't take off any points. If you if you showed me something and I could see something, but in the final version, you're going to have to be clear. You're going to have to tell me what composition techniques you used. I used some layout, some view selection, some graphical, some overview, and you need to sort of point it out. And for formal presentation and critique, if you just showed me a picture, I don't know if that was for a formal presentation or critique. So what were our formal presentation and critiques? They were check prints. They were explicit requirements out of a document. So when you do a formal presentation and technique, you need to show that your annotations, your arrows, your lists of features matched some criteria for critique. Okay. Now, one of the biggest ones, which I didn't put on here, most common was that the SLO might have said solutions or problem solving or solve. And I saw some beautiful, beautiful images and had absolutely no clue what the problem statement was or what you were trying to solve or how you were trying to solve it. So you have to be very, very clear when you're making a presentation like a portfolio. Otherwise, it's a bunch of pictures that don't mean anything to who's looking at it. So another one, and I, we didn't really go over this one much, and we're going over it this week. But if you put something down for organizational concepts, you have to let me know what organizational concept did you use. I organized it by time. I showed existing, new construction, and built. Or I organized it by type of drawing: plan view, 3D view, detail view, perspective view, text, whatever, however you organize it. Maybe you organize by part of the design process. Here I have research, concept sketch, detailed sketch, and showing it applied to the design. So those are ways to show that you are organized. When you talk about spatial concepts, okay, those would be things like I build on a high point. I have clearances. I have doors that open outward or inward, or I can get to, I have access. I have clear passage. I have negative, positive spaces. I have ramps and parking for ADA. Those are spatial concepts. Okay. I know the volume. I put this in a spot for a very specific purpose. I put the swale at the low point. Things like that. Those are spatial concepts that you would use. Okay. I made this hollow. I made this solid. I made it big. I made it small. Spatial space. I need to know what space concepts you used as you were doing your design. Okay. And we're going to go over those in more detail this project. Okay. And then many of you almost can't help showing me images that have to do with sustainable design considerations, because that's almost all we've worked with in our project. But you have to be clear of what they were. Were you using lid design concepts? Which principle? Principle 3. And what is that principle? Keep water on the property. Or were you using LTL? Okay, reuse your existing water for another use. We are in a drought. Keep your water on site, things like that. So sustainable design considerations, you have to tell me what they were. Just showing a plant doesn't let me know that you know the sustainable design consideration. So the work that I was shown was excellent, 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 excellent. But on the whole, not everybody, but on the whole, your demonstration, your connection, the obvious, clear, concise, can't miss it connection to the requirements was not made. And you have to read the requirements carefully. Okay. And if you don't know what something means, you have to ask. Nobody asked me, what does composition technique mean? What does this mean? What do you mean by spatial concepts? What do you mean by this? Okay, so we'll go over that a little bit more as we go. I want to congratulate everybody on beautiful presentation. And the beauty of a first draft is that now it's not too hard. Your work is already there. You just have to go back and think of these things a little bit to make it super clear. And you'll all have just excellent, excellent, excellent portfolios, because the work that was presented was beautiful. Okay. Any questions on that real quick or real slow? Okay. So this is where I'm saying make clear connections to the requirement. So now I need to find the README for this. So just a moment. Looks like I haven't shared the folder. And I'll put this link on the to-do page too. So we have a new folder for this project. And so let's take a look and see what it is. It's an interior commercial renovation program. Now, I used the words program requirements a lot, and many people showed me beautiful work with absolutely no tie to what what the requirements were. So if you show work in your portfolio and the SLO talks about program requirements, project requirements, you have to show that you know what they are, and you have to show how they meet it. So let's look at this. This is much the same as we did before. And so this is part of an overall residential to commercial renovation project. Okay, so you've been working on this one project for a bit. You've got the LTL for it, although it wasn't necessarily for this site. You've got the lid. And so now we're going to do some interior design. When you do a building proposal, you usually have to say what the use is. I'm going to find one here just to show you. So this is done by an architect who actually used to be our department chair, but he's retired and just does private architectural work now. And so this is part of a submittal package to the planning department. And this is just to put an addition onto the house. So you can see where what we've been doing sort of prepares you for all of this stuff. There's just a very, and now, by the way, this was done mostly in SketchUp and PowerPoint. This is mostly SketchUp and PowerPoint. A little bit of AutoCAD. But you can see that it's showing where the site is and what the new part of the building is going to be and what the proposal is. It's new residential addition, construction, lot size, lot coverage, building size. They're putting on quite a large addition. New total, rear and side setbacks. So it tells the planner about the site. Simple existing floor plan and an addition to the floor plan. Isn't that cool? You've seen that, right? There's an existing, there's an addition. And so this is what it looks like where the addition is. So this is much the same as what you've done already. But you're going to see we're going to do something sort of like this. Here's the property building information. That comes right off of the county GIS map. Some property information, how it's zoned. It's a residential neighborhood and it's got a specific zoning, RD3. That's really nice zoning, I'm telling you. And what is involved with this plan. And so there's an addition to be made, kitchen with a family room and a new master bedroom, and then some elevations. So this is very similar to what you've done already. Of course, this is a pretty oh, look at that. There's a, so when you talk about the presentation graphics, there's elevations, there's new call outs, there's new and existing. Now it's getting into some interesting stuff. This is stuff that you haven't done because this is for the structural engineer to be able to look at this and go, oh yeah, those trusses are fine and those pier blocks are fine. And I like the way you've got the rafter. Oh, and how are you going to build that roof? Oh, I see. You're going to overbuild it and put some sort of a dam on it. That's kind of cool. And then there's some details, interior views, and so on and so forth. So that is what a typical proposal for planning department would look like. Okay, now we're not going to do a full set. That's for other parts of the class. But we want you to get some experience with part of this. So this is part of an overall project. So far, you've done the LTL and the lid principles. Now we're going to identify the primary intended commercial use. Now that one I just showed you is pretty simple. There is no commercial use. They're just making their house bigger. And they were already zoned for a bigger house. Didn't hurt their zoning at all. But when you go from residential to commercial, you have to rezone. So you're going to have to ask for a variance. It says this was residential, and now, planning department, I'm going to ask to use it commercially. And that usually requires some sort of a zoning variance. Now, there might be a special zoning variance plan in that area, or you might have to ask for one just standing on its own. Okay? But that means that the planners have to know what your intended use is. So that's going to be the biggest part for this week. Figure out what you want to do with this property. Okay, so what are the projects? Begin to create a document set. There's going to be a cover page, a description of the intended use, a floor plan, and a space plan. That's this week. And then you're going to give me your visuals, and I'm going to give you a project planning checklist. And that's for next week. So as you look at this, so this is an organizational plan. And here are some of the spatial things. Access and throughways for ADA compliance. Those are spatial principles that are required. Fire safety. Entry and exit. That's called egress. Placement and opening direction. Okay, spatial planning needs. You have to make sure that people can get in and out and they can get through your building. Functional space. You have to plan for the functions of the space. You have to make sure it can meet its operating purpose. You have some place for general cleaning and maintenance. Does it need laundry? Bathroom, HVAC, overhead and ceiling spaces, equipment concealment, general use of positive and negative spaces. So just a square box, which is what our building looks like, is not that interesting. So we've already got some positive and negative spaces on the exterior. You might want to add that to the interior too. So on your documents, you're going to have, so here's another document organization. You're going to have plan views and 3D concept views. So there's lots of ways that you can call this out. Your plan views will be area map and vicinity map. You're going to trace those. And the reason you have to trace them, has anybody looked on Google Earth or Google Map? Look at this. See what it says down here? Copyright. This is a copyrighted piece of data. It's a copyrighted piece of display. So you can't just copy and paste this into your work. But you are allowed to trace it and put it in your work. Somebody along the line said, I hate tracing it. It's not original. It's not supposed to be original. It's just supposed to be right. So you will trace your area and vicinity map and put that in. Your site plan you've already got done. You have your previous work. Your floor plan is maybe almost done, but you have to add some dimensions for the walls, the windows, and the doors. And if you've had design 301, you know how to do that. Otherwise, I have to maybe show you. Space plan shows the location of furniture, equipment, important features. An access plan shows clearly that you have certain clearances and certain turnarounds, and in the bathroom and egress, exit, and an MEP plan. MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. You have to show where your heating, your HVAC, heating and air conditioning is, where your electrical power panel is, and where your plumbing is. And then we'll do some 3D views. Okay, so that's kind of cool. That's what this project is about. That's what the project is about. So let's take a look at the template. Oh, here was another part that many people kind of missed. So I'm going to zoom in on this on their. So a lot of people either left this blank or they gave me a link that was just to this document. No. These are for the files. What files got used? That's your SketchUp files, your AutoCAD files, your Revit files, any images that you used. And then some people gave me that link, but I clicked on it and it said, you have to request access. That's no. That won't work. You give this to somebody to review. You have to make sure that when somebody clicks on it, that they can get to it. Okay? So be sure to get this right. So I've made a deal about that. So now you'll get graded on that. That'll be part of your grade. I took a little bit off if you missed that. That's actually where I took most points off, 1/4 of a point. Okay, so organizationally, this is a very standard template for a cover page for a project. Now, usually there would be a title block and all that kind of stuff, but you're just going to put yours in here. So you're going to create a project cover page. There's an area map. Now, you can put this wherever you want. Okay. So there's an area map, and that shows the community. Like you would trace Carmichael or Folsom or Arden Arcade. So you just go to Google, type in Carmichael, and trace what shows up. And you show the major roads. And then the vicinity map sort of zooms in to the nearest major cross street. So like for American River College, Auburn Boulevard is the nearest major cross street. So I would make sure that I could see American River College and Auburn Boulevard. And then the site plan you've already got. That is just the boundary of your site. Okay, so you're going to make a tracing of the area map and put it there, tracing of the vicinity map, and put in your site plan. The project details will include at least the owner applicant, that'll be you, the lot size, how many square feet, and you can get that from SketchUp, AutoCAD, or from Revit. Current lot zoning. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but you're going to put it as currently RD1. okay, which is residential 1. And we'll talk about what its new one is. And what is the current use? It's residential, single family. And what is the renovated use? This is up to you. You get to decide. This is the part that's individualized. This needs to be a studio or small commercial operation of some sort. A studio or a service. Maybe it's a laundromat. Maybe it's a dance studio or a music recording studio or an art studio or a daycare or an acupuncturist's office or um, maybe a chiropractor's office, or maybe it's just a small music shop, or maybe it's a um, I don't know. You get to maybe it's a small business where it's one of those rent a business places where it's an open office and it's a kind of a timeshare and a place allows you to have it for a while. Maybe it's a barber shop. Okay, you get to choose what your renovated use is. Now I'm going to let you know that in land planning, if you put down a renovated use, your area map should show other places that have that same use in your area. Because, you know, a really cool renovated use that people are doing now are ghost kitchens. Ghost kitchens are really cool renovated use right now. Okay, they're basically kitchens where caterers or small groups can come in. They've got all the proper food safety equipment and they're gonna cook there for 4 hours a day, twice a week, and serve and deliver food out of the area, or maybe put it onto a roach coach or something like that. Okay, but the area map should show what all is getting used, or what other items of that are in the area. There's two reasons for that. One is if you can show that there's something else in that area, you're not being weird and it's easier to approve you. However, let's say this is what do you call that, tapioca, a Tebow or something like that, um, one of those tapioca tea joints, and 10 places just opened up and you're number 11. They might look at that, boba, that's what it is. Thank you. My kids love that stuff and I can't stand it. Um, um, so if there's a ton of them and it's not a commercial area, they might be looking, going, I don't know. Okay. There's also rules about what you can open up if there's a nearby school. Right? You can't open up a place that sells liquor or cannabis or something like that within so many feet of a school, or a daycare or something like that. So your area map is kind of important. And for now, you're just going to show your area map. But later on, it has a very, very specific use. Okay? And then special features of the proposal. This is like, what's cool about it? And you might have to change some of this sizing. You might have to knock some of it down and make some of it bigger. And, you know, you can play around with this to a certain extent, but not too much. And then you're going to see there's going to be a sheet list. And for this, you're going to have a cover page, research and inspiration, floor plan and space plan, and then interior visualizations. And then you're going to have one that calls out these features. These features that you list over here, you want to show them. Okay, and if there's any general design features, you'll show those. So that's a very typical cover page and how it's organized. So this is part of your project organization. Cover page. The next is to show special features of the proposal and examples that inspired it. So I'm going to say mine just because I really grooved out. Mine's going to be a judo studio. Because I think every area should have a judo studio. So what are some of the special features of this proposal? Okay, so I'd look up, what does a judo studio look like? Oh, that would be so cool. I love it. I love that look. That is really awesome. Okay, and you can point out some of this looks like the Matrix. I love it. Okay, oh, maybe you just, so look, you can even do Matrix Kung Fu Studio. There it is right there. That's the Matrix Kung Fu. That's what I want. I want mine to look exactly
Steve
like
and Dave use eToro to trade cryptocurrencies. Steve does extensive research.
Come on. There it is. That's what I want my judo studio to look like. So maybe that's what I'll put in there. Okay? Whatever you decide you want yours to look like. I love that scene. This is one of my favorite movies too, by the way. So that's cool. So what are the features? So the first thing you're going to have to do is put in you're going to have to say what it is. And I know you've said it over here, but you want to make it real clear. Okay? And you might put a justification. Judo is a great way to form young people into young adults that have good values, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it happens to be that your justification for this is. You'll want to put it in there. And then you'll want to put some clips of what other cool judo studios look like that you're going to use as the design for yours. There. And you can put a few of them in, and you have to actually annotate this. You have to let us know what this is and what's important about it. Clear space, diffuse light, some sort of we call it a showman, a place for the head teachers to hang out so that people kind of know where they are. They should probably have some dressing rooms. So what inspired you in yours? And be clear about it. So this says show examples, but you want to show also specify the features. And so if you put them over here, what those features are, you'll want to point at them over here because people might not be fully clued in like you are. Okay, so that's what goes on this page. And it'll really help whoever's reviewing this know what it's going to look like. Okay, and then you've got a floor plan and a space plan. The floor plan shows walls, windows, doors with main dimensions only. But you do want to dimension it to show that you've got 36-inch wide travel spaces. Now, the reason I'm saying that is that this is becoming a commercial space. And that means that you will need to follow Americans with Disability Act. Now, we're not going to make this an ADA class, but you want to show that you've thought about it a little bit. And ADA requires 36-inch wide so that a wheelchair can travel. And you got to have a spot for them to turn around. So if they go down a hallway, there has to be a place at the end of the hallway so that they can turn around. And that includes in the bathroom too. 2 communicating exits with doors that push outward. That's for fire safety. Okay, communicating exits. That means that if I've got a front door and inside a conference room that can be closed off, there's another door out, that doesn't count. I've got to be able to travel from one door to the other door, basically through hallways to get out. Okay, so I want 2 communicating exits somehow that have doors that push outwards. And then I have to consider my mechanical. Where am I going to put my air conditioner? Am I just going to stick them in the windows? Are they all going to be window mounts? Will it be mounted on the roof? Will the air handler, like many of you probably live in a home where there's a small closet somewhere with your air handler, the HVAC unit inside, and that's what blows air around. So where are you going to put that thing? Where does it go? You need to leave room for that. And you need to leave room for a hot water heater, maybe, and a power panel, and a bathroom. It's going to have a bathroom of some sort. Okay? So that is what you want to do, show on your floor plan. Your space plan, again, shows walls, windows, and doors, but there are no dimensions now. You're just going to show the placement of the furniture. Okay? And it's the furniture that defines the space. So I would need to show open mat area. If there's, like in the judo studio I used to have, I had a climbing net so that kids could run off their energy and basically climb a net when they had too much energy. So I had that. I also had inner tubes tied to the wall so that people could pull on them and practice their moves while they were pulling and stuff like that. And, so furniture, things that are stuck, that are important. Where are they? Defining the use of the space. And then make sure that you have open spaces for free travel. Open spaces so people can move around. Now, in a little judo studio, one of the things, just as an example, is I needed a place for parents to sit and watch because I actually required it. There was a time when I had many, many, many child students all at the same time. And so I had insurance so that if somebody accused me of acting inappropriately with those children, I could have a lawyer and a defense and all that other kind of stuff. And not that anything would ever happen. No, because I'm very careful and I'm very appropriate, but you just never know, what can happen. So I had insurance. And then after a time, that insurance skyrocketed with the prevalence of those types of cases. And I said, well, I can't afford insurance and stay in business anymore. So I just required parents to stay with their kids. Anybody under 18 had to have a parent with them. And so I had to have a place for them to sit. So that would be furniture. I had to have a place for them to sit. Okay, so that would be an example. You have to think through your use. And that's what this week is about. This week is all about that. And Natalia, I know that you've talked about doing your greenhouse. And yes, you may do your greenhouse for this part of the project. You're welcome to do this, the sort of the space, because it all fits, right? You can still do all of these things. So you can do your greenhouse. So those are the three things that are due. Now you can use SketchUp or Revit to do this. You can do it in AutoCAD too, but it's really better for you because next week we're going to do just kind of like good views, and SketchUp and Revit have better rendering capabilities than AutoCAD does. So I would use either SketchUp or Revit for this. Okay. Now for your space plan to show your furniture, my suggestion is you go online and find 3D models, either from the 3D warehouse or revitcity.com, or you can just look online for a Revit model for whatever it is you want and download those. That's the best, and just plop them right in there. Now, if you're using Revit or SketchUp, I don't care if you create a new file. I would actually suggest you create a new file to do this in, because your old file has a lot of stuff in it and it'll get complex. And you can always merge those two files using components and just insert. So in both of these cases, I suggest starting with a new building and working with it from there. Okay. And for this week, you do not need a roof. You're just looking. It said show walls, windows, and doors. That's what we're looking for. And it's just floor plan and space plan. So you don't even need proper materials yet. Not yet. That'll be next week. Okay. Questions on that? And then, of course, we've got your discussion board. So go onto the discussion board. Let me just go there. On the discussion board, I'm asking you to get together and describe your intended use. It's just a chat. You don't even need any visuals. You can all just get onto a Zoom meeting together with 2 or 3 or 4 of your colleagues and just chat about it with each other. That is such a key part of design. Just go, oh yeah, well, what about this? And I think that, and this is really cool, and that's really cool. And have you thought about? Okay. And the things you should chat about are the type of business. Oh, that's really cool. How do you know anything about that type of business? Well, I really don't. I just want to get into it, whatever it happens to be. And do please make it a business that is legal somehow. Okay, please make it a legal business. So, and there's many things that fall under legal businesses. When do you plan to operate this thing? That's a big deal to the planners, by the way. If this is going to be something that's going to go on in the middle of the night in a residential area, you're very likely to get refused by the planning commission. Okay. How many people are going to be there at one time or total for the week? That's another thing. If you're going to have a ton of traffic, especially when kids might be going to school or not coming back from school or something, it's going to be a little bit iffy maybe with the planning department. So you have to be clear about these types of things. Okay. Um, what are the features that might make this stand out? Oh, well, this is going to be really cool, and it's actually going to be a great spot for the neighborhood because I'm going to have free Wi-Fi in this beautiful area outdoors that's watered by my laundry to landscape and blah 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 blah. By the way, that is an incredibly good business if you would like to do something like that, if it won't overwhelm your local water authority, is to do a laundry service for elderly people. And if you can figure out a way to do that that is not onerous and does make some money for you, that's an excellent, excellent business. And it's the type that could work in there, especially if you go, and I've got tons of laundry then, and that water is going to create a community garden, tie it into your community, and people are going to be able to grow their own vegetables from the community right here. And because I'm going to be operating blah, 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 their kids will have free Wi-Fi while they're gardening or whatever. There's lots that you can do that will make this stand out to be a good commercial renovation site. Okay. And you should just discuss that stuff, come up with great ideas. So, the best thing to do is just record a Zoom or a Google Meet. Just push the record button. You can just go on to Zoom, and you can actually, I think you can even do that in a discussion. But you guys can work with that. You can figure it out. You can do it on Discord using OBS, or you can use your PowerPoint, or you can use Zoom, or just get on the phone with each other and record it. That is the best. Only one person out of your group needs to present their idea. But the other people need to be particularly active in the discussion. It's every bit as useful to hear what others. When is this part due? It's due Sunday. It's also due Sunday because it's really 2 in 1. You're doing your discussion and your reply at the same time. So you have until Sunday to get this part done. So Janice asked that question. So that's the best thing to do. Just find some collaborators. How do you do that? You go to people and you email a bunch of people. Hey, you want to join my group? I'm going to talk about blah, blah, blah. And you can say, first 5 people that respond, you're in. Right? That's a great way to do it. If for some reason you can't get that done, okay, make a video or a voice recording of you just explaining this stuff yourself. Okay, and you can use somebody else that lives in your home to help out. If you have a partner or a child or a parent living with you that can be part of a good, reasonable discussion, you can do that. And you can just make it a voice recording or a video recording again. Yeah, voice recording, just about every computer has voice record on it. Or, if you just can't get anything done, write it out, put it in, but that's not very collaborative. You're gonna have to figure out how to collaborate with people as you move forward in our program and the design field. So this is a great way. Okay. You've all seen sort of, how to do things and how to respond appropriately and how to do a good job with, oh, I really like that. Let me ask you a question. Okay. So if somebody says something about their business, you might go, oh, and so who are the intended clients? Let's say a judo thing again. Who are the intended clients? Well, it's just kids. I really only teach kids. And so there's going to be kids. And then you go, oh, okay, well, how are they going to afford it? Well, most kids, I'm looking for kids with rich parents who want their kids to be Olympic champions, or you go, oh, I actually don't care. And this is actually what I did. My judo classes cost $30 a month or best offer, and they could come whenever they wanted. I was open from noon until 8 p.m. 5 days a week. And I just ran classes, and kids could come whenever they wanted for $30 or best offer. And what was really cool is some people gave me $150 and some people didn't give me anything. And it was okay. I actually made more money doing that than I do teaching. But I didn't think I could keep it up into my 60s and 70s. So I gave it up when I was about 48 years old. I stopped running my own judo club. Okay, so who are the intended clients? Oh, that's really cool. What about, what about? And you can just start a conversation. And when you talk about, how are they going to get there? I actually hired a taxi to go around to all the schools and pick kids up and bring them after school. And the taxi driver had an interview with all the parents that they were going to pick up so they could approve and all that kind of stuff. And so there's like, just by asking who, you can get tons of cool ideas. What, where, when, why? Who, what, where, when, and why? Okay. So this should be fun. This should be fun. Have a good time just jawing about it with some of your colleagues. Okay. Woo! It's not really that much. Do a couple of tracings. Pick Carmichael, Folsom, Arden Arcade, maybe where you live. I don't care. And draw it. Let's just do that real quick. There. I'm going to trace that. I'll take a snip. You guys know how to do the tracing. Trace it. Put a couple of the bigger roads in. And give it a title. Arden Arcade. And then maybe your vicinity is going to be down somewhere around here. Morse Glen, Morse Estates. Here, I'm gonna do it around. See, this has a little bit of commercial stuff around here already. So maybe I'm gonna pick this as my vicinity. And then for the site, I'll try to pick an architectural, a spot that sort of would sort of match up. So that would be and I would put Hurley, Morse, Fulton, Northrop, and whatever led to wherever my site plan was going to be located. Now let me zoom in. Let's say, Memory Lane. Like these ones are already apartments. This has some commercial stuff already. Maybe I'm gonna take, where's a place that looks like a fairly large lot? These all look like apartments around here already, right? Here's some over here. This looks like a pretty big lot. So maybe I'll pretend it's this lot on Clinton. Or maybe this lot. I don't know. Let's see. Big. Look, this already has a big club all around it. So you could pick one of these places as your commercial renovation. Our lot is a little bit bigger, so maybe you would choose these two. And you go, oh, cool, I fit right in. I fit right in. There's already something over here. Okay. Or maybe, oh, this would be it. This one's almost like the right size already. Okay? And you're right near a bunch of other stuff. It's all right. So just find a spot. And you could pretend that this is the area you're going to go in. Okay. Any last questions? I do have another meeting to go to. I'm going to stop